Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to you, Devotional Time for Mindset family. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are tuned in right now, then comment live down in the comment section and let me know where around the world you are tuned in from. Okay, Judd Loyalty? Hey, Sharon. Hey, TB. Folk Narat. Is it Ink Chimeg? Welcome, Megan, Pak, FI, welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me know where you are tuned in from, okay? Because I like to see where you guys are hanging out. Hey, Alina. Hey, Sandy, good to see ya. Hey, Chocolate Pisces and Living My Reality. Hey, Bonnie. Hey, Cheryl. Hey, Jonathan. Gordon is tuned in with us. He says, good morning from Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Hey, it's me. If you're catching the replay later on, Veltra's tuned in live from Indiana. then comment replay and still let me know where you are tuned in from, okay? Living My Reality is live from North Carolina. She says, hello, everyone. Hey, Renee. Hey, Ida Mae. Good to see ya. Let's see, over on Clubhouse, Megan is live from South Florida. Ooh, let me know where specifically. I have some friends in Florida, in the Tampa area, I believe she is in. So, guys, today we are on day 49 of Devotional Time for Mindset. Can you believe it? Tomorrow we will be halfway there, Vin. That's wild. Feels like we just started yesterday, right? Hey, Nancy is back with us live from LA. Good to see you. Good to see you. So, guys, listen, if you are new here, also let me know so we can give you a proper welcome to Devotional Time for Mindset. So, my name is Lindsay Vertner. I'm a mindset expert, speaker, and actress. And I work with high achieving leaders to help them prioritize self without guilt, specifically what I call the 3 pillars of self, which are self-care, self-worth, and self-discipline, because those 3 pillars subconsciously impact every single thing we do. Okay, LB? It is a part of my purpose here on earth to help each and every one of you that are under the sound of my voice right now to create what I call a first class life, which is a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness, which is actually the life that God desires for each and every one of us. But then there's this guy called the devil. And Satan tries to attack us. He tries to attack our lives. He tries to attack our minds. He tries to attack everything that we got because he wants to be in control of our lives. And here's the thing about the enemy. He knows how powerful our minds are. And so that is why he works so hard, Kat, to try and control our minds with negative thoughts and thoughts of destruction and thoughts of anxiety and thoughts of depression and all of these other things, because he knows that if he can control our minds, then he can control our life. And he wants the opposite of all the things that God desires for us, okay? He does not want us to enjoy the fruits of the Spirit, and he does not want us to walk in our spiritual gifts. He does not want us to walk in our purpose, okay, Marcus? Hey, spiritual heiress, good to see ya. Doogie, Sandeep, welcome, welcome. Nancy says, hey, all. All right, so that is why we are here on Devotional Time for Mindset. Jennifer is here live, tuned in from Indiana. That is why we are here, just growing on our spiritual walk all together. And please know that this is a safe space, okay? There's no judgment going on here. We are all here to support and encourage each other. So keep that in mind as you communicate and share your comments in the comment section, okay? We don't put up with trolls. We don't put up with name calling or bullying or anything like that. You will get the boot and you will get ignored. All right. But we know that none of y'all are like that. But every now and then a troll might pop up. So anyways, Devotional Time for Mindset, day 49. Please share this live stream out because you never know who will need to hear this message. And Devotional Time for Mindset is guided by the book Battlefield of the Mind Devotional by Joyce Meyer. Battlefield of the Mind Devotional by Joyce Meyer. Hey, user 8713, good to see you again. Hey, Martha. Hey, Yasemi, good to see you back. If you want to follow along with us as we go through our reading, then you can download your free copy of the book at mindsetmastersuite.com. You can also submit a prayer request, contribute your answers to our favorite list. You can submit a testimonial if Devotional Time for Mindset has been impactful in your life. And you can join me live in the discussion if you want to come on camera and give your thoughts or your aha moments or ask some questions, okay? So everything can be found at mindsetmastersuite.com. All right, Danae? That is our hub for all things Devotional Time for Mindset. Hey, Grit. Where are you tuned in from? Hey, Pammy. Hey, Tina. Hey, Kim. Hey, Deidre. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, guys, so how this works every single day, same time, same place. I start off by reading the day's devotional directly from the book. Again, you can download your free copy at mindsetmastersuite.com. And then we have our discussion, okay? So meanwhile, y'all put y'all comments, y'all questions, y'all aha moments, anything you have into the comment section wherever you are tuned in from. Okay, Teresa? And be mindful, we're streaming live across 8 different platforms, so I do my best to catch every comment. But if I happen to miss yours, please don't take it personal. Just know that I didn't see it. Okay, Shanna? All right, guys. Day 49 is titled Nothing But Christ. And the opening scripture reads, "For I resolved to know nothing among you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. And I was in weakness and fear and great trembling among you. And my language and my message were not set forth in persuasive words of wisdom, but they were in demonstration of the Holy Spirit and power." Now, let me pause a second. I know that was a little bit confusing, Regina, but we're going to break that down in plain words in just a moment, okay? So that was from 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 2 through 4. The devotional reads, "I've tried to imagine what it would have been like to go to Corinth or other Greek cities at the time of Paul and try to speak to those wise, brilliant thinkers. After studying every parchment given to me and gaining knowledge of all their arguments, I would have prayed for God to help me overcome their objections. We don't know what Paul did, but his answer is astounding. Instead of going after them with great reasoning and sharp logic, he went in exactly the opposite direction. He stayed in Corinth a year and a half, and many came to Christ because of him. Later, when he wrote 1 Corinthians, he said, 'For I resolved to know nothing among you except Jesus Christ the Messiah and him crucified.'" That's amazing. If any man had the ability to reason with those Greeks and could show them the fallacies of their logic, surely that man was Paul. But being led by the Holy Spirit, he chose a defenseless presentation to let God speak through him and touch the hearts of the people. Now, centuries later, I appreciate his approach. Although I didn't always feel this way, for a long time, I wanted to explain and reason out everything, but when that didn't work, I ended up feeling miserable. I've always been curious, always wanted to know, and always wanted to figure out the answer. Then God began to work in my life. He showed me that my constant drive to figure it out caused me confusion and prevented me from receiving many of the things he wanted me to have. He said, "You must lay aside carnal reasoning if you expect to have discernment." I didn't like loose ends, so I felt more secure when I figured things out. I wanted to be in control of every detail of every situation. When I didn't understand or was unable to figure things out, I felt out of control. And that was frightening to me. Something was wrong. I was troubled and had no peace of mind. Sometimes, frustrated and exhausted, I would just give up. It was a long battle for me because I finally admitted something to myself. God knew it all along. I was addicted to reasoning. It was more than a tendency or desire to figure out things. It was a compulsion. I had to have answers, and I had to have them right now. When God was finally able to convince me of my addiction, I was able to give it up. It wasn't easy. Like people who withdraw from drugs or alcohol, I had withdrawal symptoms. I felt lost, frightened, alone. I had always depended on my ability to figure things out. Now, like Paul, I had to depend on God. Too many people assume that relying only on God is something we do easily and naturally. It didn't work that way with me, but God was gracious and patient with me. It was as if he whispered, "You're not there yet, Joyce, but you're making progress. It's uncomfortable because you're learning a new way to live." God wants us to be victorious, and I knew that all along. Now I walk in greater victory than ever before, and I no longer try to reason out everything before I act. The closing prayer reads, "Heavenly Father, thank you for being so patient with me and people like me who feel we must have all the answers before we can act or trust. In the name of Jesus, help me to simply trust in you, knowing that you will give me what is best for my life. Amen." Okay, family. Hey, Nelly. Hey, Yasmin. Hey, B Hud. Good to see you back. Hey, Hard Rock. Hey, C3R4JP. Welcome, guys. Welcome. That was our day 49 devotional reading. Okay. So if you're just tuning in, you are tuned in to Devotional Time for Mindset. We are on day 49 of our 100-day journey. Yes, we're here every day, same time, same place, learning how to protect our minds and grow in our walk with Christ. So we just completed our devotional reading for day 49, Marcella. Again, you can download your free copy of the book at mindsetmastersuite.com. You can submit prayer requests at mindsetmastersuite.com. For those of you that have been here before, if Devotional Time for Mindset has positively impacted your life in any way, shape, or form, no matter how big or small, please leave a testimonial at mindsetmastersuite.com. Okay? Meanwhile, let's get into our discussion. All right? So I need y'all to leave your ahas, your insights, your comments. Whatever you feel like you have to say, put it in the comments section, even if it's just a well. Whatever you're feeling, put it in the comments, okay? So we can have a discussion. I don't want to talk at you. I want to talk with you, all right? So let's get to it. All right, day 49, our topic was nothing but Christ. And I'm going to just be fully transparent with y'all, okay, Joyce? I don't have a lot of notes down. And to be honest, I was struggling to put down notes because what I thought I wanted to talk about after I read the devotional for the first time when I was getting ready before we started, it fit, but it didn't seem to really fit. And I was like, am I trying to force it to fit? Or does it really fit? Like, am I just thinking outside of the box? And because I couldn't have a clear answer on that, I was like, well, maybe I should just go off of just at surface value what the devotional is talking about. But for some reason, I'm still feeling led to talk about the initial thing that I see kind of like underneath the mask, underneath the surface of today's topic of nothing but Christ. So this is what I decided to do. I'm going to give y'all the surface level at face value understanding of today's devotional reading. And then I'm going to go ahead and give you what I feel is also being said of today's devotional reading, or, looking at it from outside of the box instead of the typical way that everybody would interpret it. Does that make sense? Is that, y'all understand? Is that okay with y'all? Have a Christian. User 4948 says, does it mean have a Christian perspective? Could you clarify your question just a little bit? Because I want to make sure I answer it properly, but I'm not sure I'm fully understanding your question. So if you could just clarify just a little bit what you're asking exactly, user 4948, that would be great. Over here on Clubhouse, Nancy says, yes. Okay, so we're going to get started. All right. So first, let's talk about what the devotional says at face value. What is right here on the surface that majority of people would probably see, and this is how they would interpret it, just face value. Okay. So that's what we're going to talk about first. Whenever I was reading today's devotional, I just kept coming back to enough with the theatrics. Jesus is all you need. That is one of the main messages that I got out of today's devotional. Enough with the extras, enough with the dramatics, enough with the theatrics, enough with all the things. You don't have to be the world's best entertainer. All you need is Christ. User 4948 says, what would Jesus do? Well, that's what I plan for us to do here. So let's see how it works out, okay? All the more reason for y'all to talk to me in the comments. Hey, good to see you back, Manaz. All right, so enough with the theatrics. And I know you might be saying like, well, Lindsay, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And I'm glad you asked, Chevy Girl, because we're going to get a little bit deeper into that. But that's what I want you to keep in mind as we continue this discussion, that I feel like God is saying enough with all the extras. You don't need it. You don't need this. You don't need that. You don't need the other thing. All you need is Christ. Period. Okay? So keep that in mind as we say what we're about to say, but then also keep that in mind when I come back with the out of the box interpretation. Okay? So let's keep going. Let's keep going. What I want you to remember, family, is that God will equip you with every single thing that you need in whatever area that he wants you to go in. Hey, Indie Black Fireman, good to see you. God will equip you with any and everything that you need wherever he is trying to take you. Now, if you're going in the opposite direction, that's a whole different story, okay? If God didn't tell you to go left and you're trying to go left, you might be on your own with getting your supplies. But if God told you to go right and then curve and then take a left, then he's going to give you everything you need to go right and then curve and take a left. Okay. So if he calls you, he will equip you. All right, Elizabeth. So let's keep that in mind. So today's scripture was 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 2 through 4. And I just want to add on to the top and the bottom of that. So we're going to dive into 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 1 through 5. And we're going to break it down verse by verse like we do sometimes. Okay, Noemi? So for those of you that are on platforms where you can see the graphics, you see the graphics on the screen. For everybody else, listen carefully. All right? Taking notes with your pen and paper. Hey, Cynthia. Let me know where in the world you guys are tuned in from, okay? Hey, Lady Truth. Hey, Yolanda. I see ya. So First Corinthians chapter 2, verse 1. And this is Paul. He's talking to them. He's talking to the people, okay? He's saying, friends, when I came and told you the mystery that God had shared with us, I didn't use big words or try to sound wise. Hey, Katina. So let's take a pause right there. Already he's saying, look, I didn't come to you talking all that yik yak, talking with all this vocabulary, just trying to act big and using words that you might not know. I didn't do any of that to try and make myself sound more wise than what I was, to make myself sound wiser or more intelligent. Hey, EJ. So on previous days, I have said about, because some of you can see some of my degrees and trademarks and stuff back there on the wall. And I had shared with you, oftentimes, unless you just know me, you won't even know that I have those degrees. Like, I don't lead with, oh, I have a bachelor's in this and I have a master's in this. And I don't talk about all the different vernacular. that the jargon, that's a fancy word for jargon. Like, I don't use the appropriate terms that goes with the things that I've studied and that I have degrees in. Why? Because if you aren't in that field, it's going to make no sense to you. And I'm not trying to impress anyone with the degrees and with the verbiage and the vocabulary and the proper terms of the degrees, because that makes no sense to you. Like, yeah, you might know what I'm talking about, but if I come at you in that way, then you're going to be like, girl, what are you talking about? It's like if somebody said, I need you to go outside and get the motorized appliance that has a 350 cord that spins at 500 megawatts, and it I don't know, I'm just literally making something up. But essentially what they're telling you is to go get the lawnmower and cut the grass. Like, why didn't you just say lawnmower? I don't know about the megawatts and the power and all of that other stuff. Like, just say lawnmower. You get it? And we've often said, like, we can't implement the things that we don't understand. User 4948 says identifying with the audience. Exactly. It's like, I'm not a NASA expert. So if a NASA expert came to me and was like, yeah, we're going to do this and we're going to do this, and he's talking in all of his NASA vocabulary and using NASA terms, I'm going to be looking at him like, okay, that sounds really nice. Y'all going to go to the moon? But I'm not going to understand what he's saying. And so it's just like this. Charles says 1 Timothy 2, verses 11 and 12. Can you expound upon that? Can you put that verse, like what it actually says, in the comments for us there? So Paul is telling them, I didn't come to you with big words. When I came to bring you the news of God, I didn't use big words or try to make myself sound smart. Okay? Hey, Money on the Grind. Good to see you back again. Carrington is back with us. He says, "What's good, everyone? Happy Saturday." Charles says, "You have a Bible, right?" Hey, Charles. And I'm also in the middle of giving a lesson, so I don't have time to go and look that up. I absolutely do have a Bible, and we're using it right now. So thank you for your help, and we will look that up at another time if you aren't willing to help us in the comments there, okay? So over here on Facebook, Joyce says, "Hey," she says, "Hello, live from South Carolina." Gordon says, "Thanks for keeping it simple and fun." I do my best. Okay, Gordon. So we wouldn't understand. And in verse 1, Paul is telling us, I didn't use big words. I didn't try to sound intelligent. So let's move on to verse 2. Verse 2 says, "In fact, while I was with you, I made up my mind to speak only about Jesus Christ, who had been nailed to a cross." So again, he's keeping it nice and simple. He said, I'm not using big words. I'm not coming to you and talking about all the other things that don't matter right now. I am only talking to you about Jesus Christ. That's it. Because that's the message that I want you to get. And I don't want you to be confused by everything else. I don't want you to get confused in the chaos. Have you ever been in a store? We talked about this on a previous day. I don't remember what the topic was, but how there are some stores and it just feels very chaotic and it's kind of hard to shop there because everything is everywhere and it feels like nothing is organized. Sometimes when it's too much noise going on, it's hard to get the message that is to be relayed. When you're saying a whole bunch of extra stuff, have you ever been talking to somebody and you're like, can you just get to the point already? Because you keep adding in all these details that have nothing to do with the story you're trying to tell me. And like, I'm starting to lose you. And so here Paul is saying, I'm not even talking about anything else except Jesus Christ. And then in verse 3, he continues to say, "At first I was weak and trembling with fear." And how I understand this verse to mean is that Paul didn't show up all pompous, like, I am Paul, I have arrived, listen to me because what I have to say is important. He just came. And if anything, he humbled himself. He said, you know what, guys? I'm just as weak as you are. And I'm actually a little bit fearful about sharing this message with you. But I'm here and I'm not going to use big words. And I'm not going to make myself to be out this big person. And I ain't going to confuse you by talking about a whole bunch of stuff. I'm just going to talk about Christ. User 4948 over on TikTok says, humbly address the who and why. So you guys following so far? So in verse 4, Paul continues. He says, when I talked with you or preached, I didn't try to prove anything by sounding wise. I simply let God's Spirit show his power. Hey, Kenya. Hey, Victoria. When I talked with you or preached, I didn't try to prove anything by sounding wise. I simply let God's Spirit show his power. So again, he is further explaining, like, I'm not trying to prove myself to you. God already told me who I am. And I'm not trying to appear pompous and bigger than I am to you either. On the one hand, I'm not trying to prove myself, but on the other hand, I'm not trying to make myself seem godly. I'm humbling myself before the Lord and before you so that you can learn about the Lord. And I don't have to have all the theatrics. I don't have to have all the extras. I am simply letting God's Spirit show his power through me. Hey, Julian. Hey, Yvette. Verse 5. That way you would have faith because of God's power and not because of human wisdom. This is the whole purpose of why Paul is showing up this way. He said, you would have faith because of God's power and not because of who you think I am or what you think I can do for you. or what you think I know. And I'm not taking the credit. I'm not taking the glory. That way you would have faith because of God's power and not because of human wisdom. So we just broke down those verses and we can basically sum it up to Paul made it plain. Hey, Nakia. Hey, David. Hey, Denise. Hey, Mickey. Let me know where you're tuned in from. Okay, guys? Paul made it plain. Simple as that. No pun intended. He stripped away all of the things and made it plain. And remember on a previous day when we were talking about vision? Hey, Iman. And we said, write the vision, make it plain. It's coming up again. Mickey Mouse is tuned in live from Alabama over on TikTok. I have some friends in Alabama. Well, one friend in Alabama that I'm aware of. All right. So there were no theatrics, no titles, no extras. And sometimes us as humans, especially in today's day and age, we feel like we can't show up without all the extras. And some of us hide behind the extras. And we're going to talk about what some of those extras are. We feel like we can't act or follow God's instructions without all of the extras. User 4948 says, surrender to Christ's power. Oh, you guys, quick side note. I happened to catch a notice, and usually I ignore the notices because TikTok gives a lot of notices. Hey, Big Sam's Kitchen over on Instagram. But I happened to catch this one, and I actually read it. And it says, some comments in this live were filtered to protect the community's experience. And so I feel like somebody said something that they shouldn't have said, and God blocked it. And by God, I mean TikTok said, not today. Because y'all know trolls be showing up sometime. Hey, Anna, but not today. God said, I'm not having it. So TikTok, do your thing and use your behind the scenes tech for good. Hey, entries. Okay, let me get back on track. Some of the extras we might use or hide behind. Let's talk about those, okay? Because there are some of us that are tuned in right now that feel like we can't show up in the world without the extras. And you might be asking, well, Lindsay, what are these extras you keep talking about? I'm glad you asked, Linda. Let's talk about them in more detail. Some of us feel like we have to know it all. We have to know all the things. We have to know all the answers that we can't proceed forward unless we know it all. God told us to move and we can't move because we don't know the whole game plan. We don't know the outcome. How do y'all feel when y'all are around a know-it-all? Maybe a meeting at work, or maybe a community volunteer group, or just in general. If you're not the one that is the know-it-all, then usually they're not the most fun to be around because they always have to be right. And it's like, you don't have to know everything, and it's okay. But they feel like they have to know everything. Anything you say, they're jumping on top of it with an answer or a response or, well, this is how this works. Or did you know that? Or I can do, or blah, blah, blah. It's like they're constantly trying to one up you with everything that they know. Have y'all ever been around anybody like that? It gets a little exhausting. So sometimes, and if that's you, listen, hashtag no judgment zone. Okay, Vivian or Shannon or Failed Christian Podcast. Because I don't want Vivian to feel like I was calling you out. You're just the first name I saw when I looked over this way. Some of us feel like we can't show up unless we know all of the things. But that's not what God asked us to do. Remember, obedience is required, but understanding is optional, which means we're not always going to understand. We're not always going to have all the answers when God tells us to move. Hey, Tanya. Hey, Anita. So another thing, we might hide behind material things. Some of us feel like we have to have all the things. Maybe it's all the tech things. Maybe it's all the all the designer clothes, all the latest and greatest. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have luxuries. Absolutely not. I like nice things. Okay. That's not what I'm saying. But some of us use material things, Tasha, to hide behind it. And we feel like we can't show up unless we're decked out in the latest, unless our hair is done, our makeup is done, our nails are done, our face is nice and facialized, our car is clean, and everybody's rolling out the red carpet for us. And if any of those areas are lacking, we feel like we can't show up. I mean, just think about how popular plastic surgery is, and unnecessary plastic surgery. I'm not just saying like, okay, you needed to or wanted or desired to alter a small thing right here. Like people are completely altering their entire faces and their entire body structures, and dangerously at that. Again, let me just say one more time. I am not saying that nice things are not nice to have and that you don't deserve nice things. What I am saying is that some of us listening right now hide behind those nice things and feel like we can't show up if we don't have them. And so some of you are holding yourselves back from elevation, or you're holding yourselves back from the people that you're meant to serve because you aren't showing up anytime that you are lacking in a materialistic area. You guys follow me? Hey, Sean. Hey, Andrea. Another thing, some of us hide behind education and titles. Have you ever been around the person where it seems like, dang, you've been in school your whole life, and every time they graduate, they're going back to school for something else? It's like, how many degrees could you possibly have? Like, are you trying to break a record? You already got 6. I'm not sure one more is going to increase your net worth. Y'all ever met any of those people where it was like they had 50 million titles behind their name, or they had 50 million degrees? And let me be clear once again, because there's always that person that's going to take one little thing out of context. I am absolutely not saying don't have education. I got 2 degrees. I already told you that. Education is important. When you learn things, nobody can take that knowledge away. But what I am saying is that some of us hide behind our education, and we feel like we can't show up unless we're highly educated and decorated with a whole bunch of titles. We feel like we can't go do the thing unless we get another degree that likely is not going to help you in the thing anyway. Do you know how many people that God has called to greatness and they have no degrees? Or they have 1 degree, or they have no titles, or they have 1 title, or they might not even have a high school education, yet God still used them, because God can use anybody. And he has a purpose for each and every one of us. And listen, I'm not going to speak for God, but I feel like God did not say that you needed 20 degrees to do the thing that he told you to do. Okay? I'm just saying. Okay. Joyce says, yes, professional students. Like, when are you going to take a break? What are you hiding behind with all of the education? What are you trying to prove? We're going to come back to that question. Another thing, sometimes our extras are being a busybody. Have you ever met that person, hey Doja, that is always on the go, 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 go? It's like they're always doing something. They are never at home. They always got one event after the next event, after the next event, after the next event. And even when they are home, they're never sitting down. They're always doing this, doing that. They're cleaning the kitchen, cleaning the living room, doing laundry. They're fixing the blinds. It's like, just sit down a minute. We learned that when we talked about Mary and Martha, the 2 sisters, when Jesus came to visit them. And one sister dropped everything and gave all of her attention to Jesus. The other sister kept trying to clean and kept trying to cook. And then she had the nerve to get mad at the sister that was sitting in front of Jesus and said, Why are you not helping me clean and cook? We have greatness in our presence. And Jesus was like, oh no, she's actually right. You're wrong. All of that doesn't matter. What I desire is for you to be attentive to me, for you to have an intimate moment with me, not be busy doing all the things. Hey, Big Step is certified. Good to see you back again. And some of us in our right now modern times is like her. We're busy doing all the things that we don't have time to be intimate with God and really develop our relationship with God. And we feel like if we aren't doing all the things, maybe we feel like we aren't qualified or we aren't worthy or that we have to earn our way to where it is we're trying to go. But the thing is, we can't earn God's grace. We can't earn God's mercy. We can't earn our salvation or any of that. We learned on the previous day that when we try to earn it, we actually end up suffering. We already have it. We just got to ask God to come into our hearts and accept him into our lives. On Clubhouse, Nancy says, I sure have. They can't be still. And it's kind of annoying, right? Like sometimes my daughter wants to lay down with me or snuggle with me on the couch or in the bed, maybe watching a movie or something. And she's I love her to death, but she's always been like this, like where she moves a lot and it takes her a while to get settled down. And sometimes, especially if I'm comfortable, and you guys know, I like residual back pain. So once I get comfortable, I don't like to move. And so whenever she wants to do that, and then she's just constantly moving, her leg moves, her arm moves, she's shifting her body. At some point, more than likely, I'm usually like, Carmen, be still. Like, if you don't be still, you're going to have to get up and go someplace else, or you're going to have to scoot all the way to the other side of the bed. Like, be still. Hey, Dennis. And we can be just like that in our everyday lives. Just be still sometimes. You don't have to go to all the events. You don't have to do all the things. You don't have to show up at all the places. When you're at home, you don't have to constantly be doing, and doing some more. God said, just be still. So if you fall under that category, we have to ask ourselves why. Why do we feel the need to be such a busybody? And just because we're busy doesn't mean we're productive. Because there's a difference between being busy and being productive. Nancy says, yep, over on Clubhouse. Joyce over on Facebook says, busy trying to fill a void. And we need to figure out what that is so that we can rest. Okay. Something else we might hide behind is our achievements. Now, this might be different than education and titles. This means you're always trying to earn the next thing, even outside of education. Maybe earn the next certificate or complete the next course or join the next club and be president, or be the best salesman or the best customer service representative or the best up and coming entrepreneur, or the best, and win all the number one trophies. Some of us are hiding behind all the extras of our achievements. And so we have to ask ourselves, is it because we don't feel like we're good enough without them? We feel like we can't show up if we don't have all the achievements. Some might call this kind of similar to imposter syndrome. Like, I don't really feel good enough to be at this table because maybe I don't have all the titles or the skills or the education of the people I'm seated at the table with. And so therefore, because I don't feel good enough, I'm going to go and try to get more achievements, whether it's in this specific field or not, so that when I come back to the table, I can say, yes, look at all these things I have that make me equally as good as you. That's an extra that we're hiding behind. But let me remind you, if God called you to the table, he will equip you to be there. You weren't just put there by accident. Hey, D Love Mo. Hey, Kimberly. Okay. Some of us hide behind gossip. We can't go nowhere without talking about anybody. Every event, we're talking about all the people there. Even when we're on a one-on-one date or having quality time with a single person, our conversation consists of, did you hear about, did you know, and guess what happened with, and we don't talk about anything else except other people. That's an extra that some of us are hiding behind. Why do you feel the need to talk about everybody else in their lives? What's going on in your life? What are you working on? What goals do you have? You struggling with anything? We need to have a prayer session. Like, what's going on with you? Why we got to talk about Susie Q and John and Nancy? Why we got to talk about everybody else? Why we got to talk about Drew? Some of us are hiding behind the gossip, and we feel like we can't show up without talking about other people and what they got going on. Some of us are hiding behind personas. Who we are to the outside world is not who we are at home and who we are in our hearts. In other words, we aren't being authentic to ourselves. But let me tell you, God did not make you uniquely you for no reason. We were all made differently. We all have different experiences. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different circumstances. We all have different flaws. Yes, every single last one of us has flaws with an S, plural. And what's important is that we are authentic to who we are and show up, flaws and all, because that's when God can use us best. God doesn't want you to be a carbon copy of somebody else. I'm sure you've seen it. Maybe you know somebody like that. It's like, girl, why are you always trying to be like such and such? Or man, why are you trying to act like old dude? Just be you. I've been there, especially when I was younger, because I was the taller, skinny one with glasses. And I loved to read. I loved crosswords. School was easy for me. I was in accelerated learning classes. But yet, sometimes when I got around certain friends, I felt like I had to dumb myself down. That's not who I was. I felt like I had to act like I didn't really like crosswords. And even though I always had a book with me, maybe I don't read that much. Let me laugh at that. That's kind of stupid. Let me pretend like I don't like the things to try to fit in. Hey, Malaysia. And so I was pretending to be someone else. Like I was still being me, but with a little bit of a mask on. It was like I was dumbing myself down just a little bit. I was dimming my light just a little bit in attempts to fit in because I already stood out naturally. And each and every one of us actually stands out naturally, but we shrink ourselves to fit in with others. God doesn't want you to do that. He wants you to show up as who you are, flaws and all, in all your glory. You got a checkered past, bring that with you, because guess what? He can use it. Carrington said it wasn't stupid though, and you were still shining as yourself. Thank you, Carrington. I like to think so. I literally had friends in every friend group. I didn't fit into one group. I floated between all the group types, the stereotypical types. And I could get along with all of them when I was just being me. It was whenever I tried to get along with certain people, I felt like I had to be a little bit less of me or hide a little certain pieces of me. And as I got older, then I was like, girl, if you knew then what you knew now. Yosemite says, that is me trying to do more courses or certificates because I feel what God requires me to do requires more achievements. But this is not true because the time I even tried to obey partially, I realized that the work requires more of God's wisdom and knowledge. Can I just say, I'm so glad that you came to that revelation? Because did God tell you to go get all those courses and all those certificates? Did he say that that was required for what he called you to do? And it sounds like you already figured out the answer to that, which was no. He said, I need you to be more intimate with me and grow in your relationship with me. And that is going to make you excel in where I'm taking you. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for just being vulnerable in that. And that is a big, big insight and revelation to gain. So everybody, show her some love in the comments, okay? Even though you can't see them because you're tuned in via audio. But I'll let you know. I'll let you know. Hey, Royalty. Hey, Jesse. Okay. One more thing that we hide behind sometimes, our relationships. Sometimes we are hiding behind the other people around us. And we're running in their shadows when God is calling you to the forefront. Jesse says, hello. Where are you tuned in from, Jesse? Is this your first time tuning in to Devotional Time for Mindset? Joyce is showing you love over on Facebook. Carrington's showing you love over on Facebook, Yosemite. Sometimes, listen. Let me say this. There are times when God calls us to be a leader, and there are also times when God calls us to be a follower. User 4948 has hand clapping emojis. Jesse says, yes, I'm traveling. And is it NCA, like North California? Is that what you're meaning? The NCA part? California. Awesome. North California. Okay, perfect. Yes. Sometimes God calls us to be the leader. Sometimes he calls us to be a follower. Sometimes he calls us to be the main character. Sometimes he calls us to be the supporting character. Sometimes we're to be the background. And it's important that we have a good relationship with God and that we use our discernment to understand when we're supposed to be in which role, because we're not always supposed to be at the forefront. Now, let me clarify, because I know how y'all like to tussle. Let me clarify. Just because we aren't supposed to be the leader in every situation does not mean that we're supposed to dim ourselves down. Understood? That doesn't mean to hide your light. That doesn't mean to not shine as who you are. That just means it's somebody else's turn to be the line leader. Y'all understand? That doesn't mean shrink yourself. But sometimes we're to be the leader. Sometimes we're to be the supporting character. Sometimes we're even supposed to be the background extras. Okay? But that's where our discernment comes in, to figure out which role God wants us to play in the specific situation. Hey, Adam. Nancy says, huge props, girl. She's talking to you, Yosemite. All right. So those are some of the extras that we might hide behind that cause us to not follow God's instructions or causes us to not act or not move when God told us to move. Because we feel like we can't show up if we aren't guarded by all the extras, if we aren't weighing down ourselves with all the extras, all the theatrics, all the dramatics. Okay, we have to be like Paul and keep it plain. All we need is Christ. Hey, Jackie. Nothing but Christ. So that is the message. We don't need all the extras, the theatrics, the dramatics. We don't need all the things. Y'all know Erykah Badu? She's a singer, a famous singer, been around for decades. Well, if you don't know who Erykah Badu is, please Google it. She spells her name not in the traditional way. Okay, just use your voice chat and say, "Hey Google, who is Erykah Badu?" Okay, but she has a song called "Bag Lady." All right, I love me some Erykah Badu. She has a song called "Bag Lady," and in the song, she's talking about this lady is carrying all these bags, and she's gonna hurt her back, dragging all those bags like that. She gonna miss her bus because she can't hurry up. Dragging all those bags like that. So we have to ask ourselves, Ty or Ty's mommy and Coach Luana, what bags are we carrying? What are the extra weights that we can take off? Is it the relationships, the gossip, the persona, the achievements, the material things, the know it and all, the educations, being a busybody? What are all the extras we're carrying in the bags? We need to let them go and show up without them and know that we are enough to show up without all the extras. And again, if God called you, he will equip you. He never asked us to be perfect and to have all the things. He never said, for you to do what I'm telling you to do, I need you to come in full wardrobe, full face of makeup, blowing fire and twirling batons and flipping over all the things to do this one thing. I just need you to show up as who you are, as you are, flaws and all. That's it. With nothing but Christ. Because whenever you show up with all the extras, it is hard for Christ to shine through. Not that he can't, not that he won't. But for everyone else around you, it is hard for them to see the Christ in you because Christ is having to get through all of the extras just to pop out. Jesse says, I needed this, girl. Thank you. Listen, my pleasure. I'm just being obedient, okay? All glory to God. But when we show up without all of the bags, without all of the extras, and just show up, then it's easy. It's like this. Let's think about the sun. I'm looking at a window over here. For those of you that see my face, to my left is a window. Whenever it's sunny outside, all I got to do is open the blinds and the sun will shine through. But when I put blinds up, it makes it a little harder for the sun to shine through. When I close the blinds, it makes it a little harder for the sun to shine through. If I put up curtains, it makes it a little harder for the sun to shine through. So when we show up with all the extras, we're making it a little harder for the sun to shine through. Y'all, no pun intended, okay? S-U-N-S-O-N, Son of Christ. Y'all, I'm so hilarious. Nancy says, thank you for that, of course. Okay? It makes it harder. Not that it can't. It just makes it harder for me to see the sunlight whenever it's curtains and whenever it's blinds and whenever the blinds are closed. And don't let it be blackout curtains because then I'm definitely not seeing the sun. And so sometimes when we show up in all the extras, it's hard to let God's love shine. It's hard to let Christ shine through us because we are bogged down with all the things. So we got to get rid of the extras and show up with nothing but Christ. Okay. So ask yourself, what are you trying to prove with all the extras? Prove to yourself, prove to others, because the only thing that you need to do is ask God, who do you call me to be? And get this, notice that I did not say, what are you trying to prove to God? And that's the only one you need to be proving anything to, because no, we've talked about that in previous days. You don't have to earn God's love. You don't have to earn his grace, his mercy, or anything. God loves you regardless. There's nothing you can do in this world that's going to make God not love you. All we have to do is invite him into our hearts and invite him into our lives. So you don't have to prove anything to him. All you have to do is say, who do you call me to be? And that's the only voice you listen to. So if your mama come and say, boy, you can't be doing that. Or if your daddy say, girl, is you crazy? You can't do that. Or if your best friend says, look, I love you, but I don't see you doing that. It don't matter what they say because they're not God. That's the only voice you need to listen to about who you are. If there's an inner voice talking to you saying that you're not good enough, you're not worthy enough, that you aren't worth anything, you don't have enough education, you don't have enough money, you don't have enough support to start the business, you don't have enough education to sit at the table with the CEOs. The enemy's telling you that, or God's telling you that? Because I know the answer. The question is, do you? If God is taking you there, then you have everything you need to be there. If God has put a vision in your life to start a business of some sort, then he's going to give you everything you need to start that business. If God is calling you to be in a certain position, then he's going to give you everything you need to be in that position or take you wherever he has taken you. Because again, if he called you, he will equip you. If he gave you the vision, he will give you the provision. Hey, King Leo. Nancy, she's laughing at my comment a few minutes ago. Okay. And here's one more thing that happens when we are constantly showing up with all the extras. Eventually, God stops getting the glory. Because now I have all this education. Now I've achieved all these things and all these benchmarks. Now I have all these relationships. I've put on this persona. And because I've done all these things, now I know all the answers. And because I know all the answers, now I have all the latest fashion. And because I have all the latest fashion and I have all the degrees, I must be pretty awesome. And then when people come and see me, they say, oh my gosh, how did you do it? Where did you buy it? How did you get it? How do you have so many friends? I'm just a people person. Oh, I like shopping. I have a private shopper. I really worked hard to get all of these things. Eventually, God stops getting the glory, which is another reason we have to stop showing up with all the extras. Just like in the verse. Wait, let me go back to it. 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 2 through 5, actually. Verses 2 through 5. The verse 5 says, that way you would have faith because of God's power, not because of human wisdom. Just like my story, for those of you that are new here, I've shared it on previous days. Let me give you a quick rundown. In 2007, I fully recovered from being brain dead and paralyzed, despite what medical experts said, despite what their knowledge said, despite what their logical eyes said. I was an anomaly. Literally, front page news, 3 different news articles. The very first one, big bold letters across the top, said miracle on the highway. Woman believed dead is now alive in Indianapolis hospital. Now we know that news is often partial and that very rarely, unless you're listening to a Christian news station or something like that, very rarely do they honor God in the media. And so the fact that miracle on the highway was in big bold letters, that says something right there. That means there was nobody but to give the situation to except God. There's nothing that could explain what was happening and how it happened except God. You can't attribute it to science because according to science, I was dead. You can't attribute it to your medical expertise because according to your medical expertise, I was dead. But because of God, all the extras were not there. There was nothing else to attribute me being alive to except God had to have intervened. She is alive because there is a higher power at play here. Speaking of, the very third article that was written about me was written by somebody that said he wasn't a spiritual man. He didn't necessarily call himself an atheist, but he definitely said, I don't subscribe to spiritual things of that matter. However, and this is him saying this, however, I was there on the scene and I saw her lifeless body. I saw the condition of her body. I saw the condition of the wreck. So when I got the call a few days later that she was alive, I could think nothing else except there had to be a higher power at play. So when we show up with all the extras, God stops getting the glory. And God is saying, you don't need all of that. Just show up as who you are. And guess what? Not only are you going to shine, but I'm going to shine through you. And the people that don't know me, they're going to say, huh, it's something different about her. It's something different about King Leo. It's something different about Jesse. It's something different about Autumn. It's something different about Joyce. I want to know more. But first, we have to take away all those extras. We got to take away the theatrics. We got to take away the dramatics. Over on Clubhouse, Yosemite says, wow, then God stops getting the glory. This is deep. Never thought of it this way. Mm-hmm. Yep. Just like I am very quick to say, whenever someone maybe learns about my Rex story, they will say, wow, you were so lucky. And no, I was not lucky. Didn't none of that happen by coincidence? Didn't none of it happen on accident? And if I really went by play, you could see where God was working it out on my behalf. What he turned what was meant for evil by the enemy into my good. And it led me straight into my purpose. So the minute somebody's like, you were so lucky. No, baby, I was blessed and I was favored by God. And he said, you thought, I'm not done with her. She's not done on this earth with what I've called her to do. You only led her straight into it. Nice try, enemy, but it didn't work. And Fred says, hello, tuned in live from Chicago. Okay. So we have to strip away all of the things so that God can shine. Now, that was the surface lesson that I got from today's devotional. Now, if you tuned in late, at the very top of our discussion, I had stated how I didn't have a lot of notes down. I have some notes here, but not as much as I would like to have. But like we've been saying this whole time, if God calls you, he will equip you, because clearly we've already been here an hour. And I had stated at the very beginning of our discussion that there was a surface lesson that I saw in today's devotional, but there was also a out of the box lesson that I saw in today's devotional. And I kind of was conflicted about which direction to go in. And so rather than pick a direction, I asked you if you wanted to hear both of them, and you said yes. Well, at least Nancy said yes. And since nobody else said anything, well, Nancy picked for us. You should have voted, okay? So that we just shared was the surface level lesson that I got out of today's devotional. However, it is still heavy on my heart that I feel like I need to address an out of the box lesson for today's devotional, which goes with addiction. Now, before y'all get scared, usually when we hear the word addiction, we are automatically thinking of drugs or alcohol or pornography or something like that. We go to the extreme side of things. However, a lot of us are addicted to things and we don't even realize it. Nancy says, thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. A lot of us are struggling with an addiction and don't even know it. Probably more of us than not. Hey, Naka Babe. Hey, Wendy. Hey, Kinsley. Hey, Ronald. Okay. So I want to quickly share what I mean by that. So, first, let me redirect you to today's devotional reading. If you notice, Miss Joyce Myers, she says, I was addicted to reasoning, not drugs, not alcohol, reasoning. It was more than a tendency or desire to figure out things, it was a compulsion. I had to have answers and I had to have them right now. And so if she didn't have the answer, she didn't move, she didn't act, she wasn't obedient to where God was telling her to go because she didn't have all the answers. And she felt like she had to have all the answers to show up. So that was her extra. Another form of being a know-it-all. She had to know all of the things before she could show up or move or act. Hey, Kelly. And that was her addiction that caused her not to move, Janice. And so some of us are addicted to procrastination. Some of us are addicted to anxious thoughts. Some of us are addicted to a victim mentality. Some of us are addicted to scarcity, a scarcity mindset. Some of us are addicted to gossip. Some of us are addicted to perfectionism. Some of us, like Sister Joyce Meyer, are addicted to reasoning, and so on and so forth. Hey, Jilly Bean. Good to see you, girlfriend. You guys understanding? It's not just about drugs and alcohol. Some of us are addicted to relationships that we need to let go. And we've been known we need to let go of them. But we aren't trusting God. We don't feel like we're going to survive without that relationship. How could I possibly, if I let this friend go, or if I let this boo thing go? And I'm telling you right now, you don't need anything but Christ. You need nothing but Christ. Let go of all the extras, and all you need is Christ. Jilly Bean says hi on TikTok. Jessie says giving that applause emoji. Hey, Lacey. So ask yourself, what am I addicted to in my life? What are the extras that I feel like I can't show up without? Show up without. Is it procrastination? Is it fear? We talked about on previous days what happens when we allow fear to control our behaviors. Go back and watch that replay. I don't remember what day it was on. Hey, Phillips, good to see you back again. I don't remember what day it was on. So if anyone that was here and you specifically remember, guys, we're on day 49. All the days blur together to me now. So if this is your first day, get ready. Go put those replays back, play them while you're going about your day, okay? So you can catch up, mustard. Y'all know I like corny jokes, okay? Okay, let me get back on track. Some of you, some of us, I will say, I don't like to call people out because we're all in this together, okay, Deetra? If I'm talking to one, I'm talking to all of us. So some of us are addicted to a victim mentality. What do I mean by that? I'm glad you asked, Kelly. In other words, something is just always wrong. And it's never our fault. Somebody is always doing something to us. Well, my boss, my supervisor, and that's why I can't get a promotion, or that's why I can't get a raise, or that's why I can't get this position, or that's why I can't leave the meeting. Somebody is always against us. Or, this is just how I was raised, and there's no good men out there. There's no good women out there, and I'm just tired of the dating pool. Well, I wasn't raised with a wealthy family. I don't know how to do stocks. I don't know how to invest money. And, I'm always robbing Peter to pay Paul. And I don't have enough money to be trying to save or get out of debt. And guys, or I don't have enough support. Don't nobody from my hometown support me and my business. And it's 50 people selling t-shirts. And so I can't sell t-shirts. I gotta be different. And guys, when it's always someone or something else, that's a victim mentality. And here's the thing about a victim mentality that some of us are addicted to. You give up your power for change when you're always the victim, because that says, I don't have control of my life. It's always up to somebody or something else outside of me. I don't have the tools, the resources, the support, the relationships, the connections, the background, the upbringing, the blah, 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 fill in the blank to get myself out of this situation or to build this thing that I want to build, but I keep complaining about all the things I don't have, or the system is against me. You're showing up with the extraness, the dramatics of being a victim. Hey, Faith. Hey, Hatha. Philip says, I'm glad to be here again. Good morning. I've been trying to be on the show, but I've been busy with schoolwork. But you are here, Phillips, and that's all that matters. And luckily, the replays are still available on the YouTube channel for now. So if you're ever like, oh, I want to go back and catch up on a day, mindsetmastersuite.com is where you can find all the links to all the things. Hey, Louise. But we're happy you're here today. Okay, guys. So you give up your power for change when you're always playing the victim. And that is an extra in the form of always being dramatic. Everybody's not always out to get you. It's not everybody else's fault. Jilly Bean says, oh, okay. Oh, wait, where was that? Oh, okay. See how words are funny and how we can interpret it in different ways? So some of us are addicted to being the victim, and we have to ask ourselves, do we really want to get out of our situation? Because if we did, we would give it to God. We would lay it at the altar, leave it at his feet. We would let go and let God. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't do any work. Because remember, faith without works is dead. Hey, Vivian. Oh, Jilly Bean says, is where I can find all the replays. Yes, that is where, because TikTok does not save the lives. And Instagram, it saves the replays, but it doesn't save it with the comments, and it doesn't have the graphics. So if you go to mindsetmastersuite.com and then just click the YouTube, which you've been connected on the YouTube before, but there is actually a playlist for Devotional Time for Mindset. And you can click on the playlist and literally all the videos are right there. It's on my Facebook too, but then you have to sift through all of the posts that are posted on Facebook. But on YouTube, everything is streamlined. Click on the lives tab or click on the playlist. Okay, because it's not an uploaded video, it's a live stream. And so they have separate tabs for videos that you actually upload versus live streams. But yes, some of us are addicted to the victim mentality. And that is why Jesus is calling us, and he's saying, all you need is me. It doesn't matter about all those excuses that you said of why you're such a victim. You need nothing but Christ. So get rid of the dramatics, get rid of the theatrics, and trust in me. Have an intimate relationship with me. Talk to me. If you need my help, ask me for my help. Because remember, God is not going to force himself into our situations. He's going to wait for us to ask for his help. And then once he gives us directions or gives us an answer, we have to then be willing to obey, even if we don't understand, even if we don't have all the answers. Hey, the real Purple Michelle. Good to see you back again. Hey, Lady King. Okay. So I felt like I really needed to touch on that last part, Sunflower, of some things that we may be addicted to that we need to let go of and show up with nothing but Christ and trusting nothing but Christ. And I mentioned a few of them: procrastination, anxious thoughts, victimhood, scarcity mindset, gossiping, perfectionism, reasoning, having to know it all, some relationships. You ever known anybody, it's like you've never known them to be single? Hey, Shinny. Hey, Leno. Hey, Larry. It's like every time they turn around, I remember there was this one person that I knew, and every time she popped up on my Facebook, she was in love. But every other month, she was in love with a new person, and was like she always had a new boyfriend. At some point, you have to ask yourself, one, what's the common denominator in all those relationships? And two, here's the thing. Why do you feel the need to be in a relationship so much? Because the number one relationship that matters is your relationship with God. And listen, I don't know her life, her situation like that. And this goes for anybody that is like this. But I feel like if you prioritize your relationship with God, if it was in your will, not your will, but God's will for your life, to be in a relationship, then he's going to provide that boo thing when you're ready for that boo thing. And some of us will stay in relationships even when they're toxic because we feel like we won't get along without them for whatever reason, or we won't find anyone better, or we aren't worthy or deserving of anyone better than what we got. And so God is saying, stop being addicted to the relationship. Stop being addicted to the dramatics and the theatrics of the toxic relationship. Stop being comfortable in the chaos and instead let it all go and make it plain and show up with nothing but Christ. Hey, Queen Spam. Hey, Jessica. So I gave you guys a lot of different examples of some extras that might cause us to not show up, to not be obedient. Hey, Jessica. And then I gave you some examples of some addictions that many of us are facing. And the main thing that I want you guys to remember, in the words of the great Erykah Badu, let it go, let it go, let it go. Now, some of you will say, isn't that Frozen? No, baby. Erykah was here long before Frozen. Okay. But if that's what you prefer, in the words of Frozen, Elsa and Anna, let it go. Let it go. Drop all of the extras. Drop all of the theatrics. Drop all of the dramatics. Get rid of the addictions. And if you need help, turn to God to allow him to help you. Because remember, we learned on previous days that he will always provide a way out. He will always provide a way of escape. He will always give you a path out of the wilderness. But we got to be willing to, one, be aware of it, and two, accept it. But the question is, do we really want to get rid of the addiction? Do we really want to stop our anxious thoughts? Or are we comfortable in our chaos? Do we really want to get rid of the victim mentality? Hey, positive enlightenment. Do we really want to stop blaming our circumstances and our past on why we don't have enough money and why we can't get ahead? Guess what? If you can manage $10, God's not going to bless you with 10 million. And even if he did, you're gonna what's the word? Scrounge it? Scrounge? That's not what I'm looking for. Y'all know what I mean. Y'all gonna lose it, because how you manage $10 is how you'll manage $10 million. We talked about that on a previous day, Jayla. How you do the small things is how you do the big things. How you're faithful and trusting of God in the little areas of your life is how you'll be faithful and trusting of God in the big areas of our lives. Okay? So today's lesson is nothing but Christ. So as you're going through your days, and you're tempted to procrastinate, or you're tempted to walk in perfectionism and feel like everything has to be perfect before you move or before you act. Okay, Christy? When you're tempted to blame somebody else for your circumstance, when you're tempted to stay in the relationship that God told you to let go, when you're tempted to gossip about somebody and talk about somebody, when you're out on your brunch date with all your buddies, when you're tempted to feel like you got to get just one more degree, when you're tempted to feel like you got to get just one more achievement or one more gold medal or one more gold sticker on the sticker board, when you're tempted that you have to know all the answers, pause and tell yourself, I don't need any of this. The only thing I need is God. I need nothing but God. When you're tempted to be doing all the things for all the people all the time and you can't sit down, I don't need to do that. I need nothing but God. I'm letting go of the theatrics. I'm letting go of the dramatics. I'm letting go of all the extras. I'm dropping all my bags. And I'm showing up with nothing but God. Because that's when he shines most. And when we do that, he also wants to bless us. So sometimes, because we got to get through all of the extras, we delay our blessing. That's like, you ever had to go pee before? And let's say it was a snowstorm outside, and to keep yourself warm, you put on 5 pair of pants and 5 coats. How long is it going to take you to get to the bathroom? You got to take off all those coats. The zipper is getting stuck. You got to take off all of those pants before you can relieve yourself. I know you might be like, Lindsay, why are you talking about peeing? Because it's a simple example and everybody can picture it. Versus if you just had on a t-shirt and pants, how quickly you can relieve yourself in that bathroom because you don't have all the extras on your body. So, in this very weird analogy, thank you guys for bearing with me. Let's flip it. When we're showing up with all the extras, sometimes we are delaying our blessings from God because we're too busy being wrapped up in all of the extras. We're delaying our relief from God because we're too busy being bogged down by all the extras. And so all we need is nothing but God. Okay? So that's all the notes that I have for you. I gave y'all the surface level lesson and the out of the box lesson. And I feel like it went, but y'all let me know. if that worked for y'all. Okay. Let me know if you understood everything. But I really just felt like I needed to cover all the bases today and not just do the surface thing, because some of y'all didn't know y'all was addicted, and it's holding you back from your blessings. It's holding you back from your miracles. It's holding you back from getting out of the circumstance that you're in, because you're addicted to the extras. You're addicted to the theatrics. You're addicted to carrying all the bags and the burdens that God never asked you to carry. Jesse says, yes, with the prayer hands emojis. Thank you, Jesse. Okay. Nancy says, A plus. Jilly Bean says, I used to have a very addictive personality before I met God. I'm glad you met him, Jilly Bean, and I'm glad you're here with us. And Jesse, welcome to the Devotional Time for Mindset family, okay? You've been here. You are officially a cousin. The fun cousins that you like to see at the family reunion. Hey, Norris. All right. So let's get into our day 49. Jesse says, thanks. Y'all, can you believe tomorrow we will be at the halfway point? Can y'all believe it? What y'all gonna do when we get to day 100? Oh, it's gonna be bittersweet. Jesse says, thank you. Can't wait to the next one. Well, same time, same place tomorrow, Jesse. Don't go yet. We're about to do our intentional insight for the day. But meanwhile, to hold you over, you got 48 replays that you can watch. You don't have enough time in a day because it's only 24 hours in a day. And on average, we go about 90 minutes. Some of them a little less, some of them a little more, but on average about an hour and a half. So you're not going to get through all of them if you had a devotional time for mindset marathon. That could be a thing, y'all. We could do it. No, never mind. But that was a fun thought to have. Day 49, our day 49 intentional insight and act. Okay, it's very simple. Easier said than done, maybe, but we're going to do some more reflecting. Hopefully you guys reflected on what we talked about reflecting on yesterday. I would do a recap, but I don't really remember. Y'all, I mean, in the moment, once the moment's gone, I'm out of it. I have to go back and watch the replays just like y'all, or go look at my notes. Okay. So more reflection, because, we got to figure out some things within ourselves sometimes. Okay. And that's equally as important as doing the things. But sometimes we have to be still with ourselves. We have to be still with our thoughts. We have to be still with God. We have to be still with our past experiences and maybe the traumas that we've been through, so that we can heal them and move forward and know how to better control it, so that it doesn't show up whenever we least expect it. Because usually when that happens, it happens at an inconvenient time. Okay. Hey, Barb. So more reflection for the next 24 hours. So make sure you get it done. Don't let the enemy stop you from getting this done in the next 24 hours. But sit down and ask yourself, what extra do you need to shed so that you are left with nothing but Christ? And look, I'm going to change that. I'm going to add something, not change it. Let me take it off the screen really fast so I can. What extra or addiction? Save. Save. Now let me put it back on the screen for you. Okay, there we go. I added a word. Well, two technically, but what extra or addiction do you need to shed or get rid of or eliminate so that you are left with nothing but Christ? And we all probably have at least one, if not a couple. So be honest with yourself, okay? Don't nobody have to see what you wrote on your paper. Hey, Marionetta. This is between you and God. And remember, ain't no point in lying to God because he already knows. He's just waiting on you to admit it. So No time like the present, okay? What extra or addiction do you need to shed so that you are left with nothing but God? So that you can show up with nothing but God, so that you can be like Paul and make it plain without using big words, without coming with the pomp and circumstance, without coming with all the flashing lights and glitters and sprinklers and sparklers and fireworks, and just allowing God to shine through you and shine in your situation, and for God to get the glory. You guys are familiar with my acting story, or my acting journey, I should say. Um, and one thing, so I have my main Instagram account, and then I have my acting Instagram account. And anytime I post about a new role that I've booked in acting, hey Ozar, I always say, I'll put prayer hands, or I'll say directly, to God be the glory, or something of that nature, because I know what I have achieved in such a short time. And more importantly, I know that God gets all the credit, because there is absolutely no way I could have done what I've done in the time that I've done it if God wasn't directing the path, if God wasn't shining favor on this journey. So I always say, my story, God's glory. Even with my wreck, my story, God's glory. I wasn't lucky in 2007. I was blessed. And God set it up. He did all that he can do. Okay. One more little reminder as we close out day 49, in reference to the story, because I just said God was handling it. He had his hands all up in the mix. Okay. Setting up the pieces for a checkmate on the chessboard, and making a way so that I could still be here today instead of 6 feet under. But here's the thing I also want to point out, because I want to make sure I'm clear on this, because we've been talking about not showing up, or if we show up with all the extras, or allowing the addictions to hold us back from showing up. God did what he can do in the spiritual sense. My medical team did what they could do in the scientific sense. However, at some point, the baton was passed to me, and I could not be a passive person in my recovery. Once I was conscious, once I was aware, once everybody filled me in on what had occurred, it was my choice and my choice only. I had to choose not to be a victim to the circumstances. I chose nothing but God, and I allowed him to move me from there. Okay, God, I'm still here, obviously for a reason. So what I'm to do next? How does this play out? What do you desire for my life? And at no point did I ever feel like God said, baby girl, yes, you're alive, but you're going to be alive in a wheelchair. Yes, you're alive, but you're going to be alive with braces on your legs, or you're going to be alive with a trach in your neck, or you're going to be alive with a back brace. Whenever in that situation, I allowed myself to listen only to God, not my experts, not my friends, not my family, not what it looked like physically in real life with my eyeballs, but I allowed myself to be present with nothing but God. And what he told me is that you're going to make a full recovery. And in that recovery, I am going to shine through your story. Hence why we're here, because God gets all the glory. But again, it was up to me to allow him to use me. It was up to me to get rid of all of the extra things, all of the noise around me, and show up broken, literally, like physically, mentally, emotionally broken. I was brain dead and paralyzed. I was in the hospital for an entire month. But because I made that choice, here I am today. But it didn't come without work. It didn't come without me doing things. It didn't come without me showing up. But I had to put my trust in nothing but God. First and foremost, I had to be faithful in God. I had to believe that what he told me was to be true. How long it was going to take, I don't know, Patricia. Well, I know now because we're through it. But at the time, I didn't know. Neither did the doctors. They didn't think that I would walk again. But heck, they also thought I was dead on multiple occasions. They didn't think that I would go back to school. Not only did I go back to school, but 10 years literally to the date, I graduated with my master's because I was an undergrad whenever it initially happened. May 13th, 2007 is the day I got in that wreck. May 13th, 2017 is the day I graduated with my master's. And when we talk about full circle, I almost said full effing circle. But I caught myself because God be working on me too, okay? But I say all that to say it was nothing but God. And so, in the next 24 hours for your intentional insight or act, ask yourself, what extras or addictions do you need to shed so that you are left with nothing but God and you are trusting nothing but God? Okay? Over on YouTube, Gordon says, amen. That's it, family. That's it. That is it. So, guys, we had a moment today, as we do every day. Tomorrow, we are back with day 50, our halfway point. Oh my gosh. A devotional time for mindset. Same time, same place. So we are here at midnight Eastern every single day. So if you are in a different time zone or to our cousins overseas, please make sure that you do a time zone conversion so that you are not late and that you can get here when the bell rings. Jesse has the prayer hands emojis and Nancy says good night. I love you, cousins. Remember, this devotional is guided by the book Battlefield of the Mind Devotional by Joyce Meyer. You can download your free copy if you want to follow along with us at mindsetmastersuite.com. And if you want to know which day we're on, it's easy because you guys see how it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tomorrow is day 50, so we're on number 50. You see it? Hold on, let me make it clear. There you go. All right. So again, you can follow along with us and you can download your free copy of the book at mindsetmastersuite.com. You can submit a prayer request at mindsetmastersuite.com. Please submit your answers to our favorite list, which is favorite scripture, favorite personal development or inspirational book, and favorite inspirational song. No, you don't have to have all three. Yes, you can have more than one. If you have 5 favorite scriptures, put them all. If you don't have a favorite book, that's okay. But put your answers in there because at the end of the 100 days, I'm going to take all of the answers that were submitted by all of us cousins. And then I'm going to put it in a nice file. And then I'm going to send that out as an additional resource that we can use as we continue our walk in our spiritual growth. Okay. And then lastly, if devotional time for mindset has impacted you in any way, please, please, please leave a testimonial by clicking the testimonial button at mindsetmastersuite.com. And if you need or are looking for some professional help in your life, you need a therapist to help you heal those things that you are addicted to, there are links there at mindsetmastersuite.com and you can search therapists in your areas. So it literally is your home base for all things devotional time for mindset, lots of resources and tools and things like that. Mindsetmastersuite.com. Okay. And then share this out with your friends, guys. Okay. If there was a nugget or an aha you had, go post it on your Facebook or post it on your Instagram. Tag me. Okay, so I can join in the conversation and show you some internet love, some internet currency. Hashtag devotional time for mindset, and hopefully that'll help it to pop up. Okay, so feel free to do these things because we never know who needs some of these things that we talk about together. Okay, family, but they don't know me. They don't know I exist. They don't know this exists. So whenever we comment, whenever we share, then that helps spread the word to the internet world that, hey, you know what? Let's share this to some other people because a lot of people seem to be tuned in. A lot of people seem to be commenting. A lot of people seem to be sharing. Okay. So that is all I got to say, guys. And I love you. And now I'm going to go shower and snuggle up with my husband because you guys know I've been out of town at a place. So I am home for a few days and then I go back out of town on Wednesday. Because you guys, did y'all notice I was back in my office today? All right, guys. So I love you. I'm thinking of you often and praying for you always. Tomorrow, same time, same place. Thank you for the gummy bear. Is that a gummy bear? Yes. Thank you. Thank you for the bear, Jesse. I appreciate it. I love you guys. I love you, cousins. Until our next family reunion tomorrow at midnight Eastern time, same place. We are back for day 50. All right. So with that, have a great night or have a great day to our cousins overseas. And I'll see y'all later. Bye. Why is it not going?